Welcome to another Destination Discussions from Altair Destination Services. I'm joined again by our 5 country leaders from our Destination Services business. And today we're going to have a conversation about the kind of tips and tricks that we can give you for things that can help you with your home search in your chosen new destination location. One of the things that I would say before we get started is that the world of home search has changed quite considerably. We operate in a number of markets where the amount of housing that's out there has become far more restricted, and our ability to deliver days on the road, seeing lots and lots of properties is long behind us. The reality is now we spend a lot of time doing research to find the exact right property, and then we make sure that we go and see their property as quick as possible. But we have lots of great tips here for you today from our team. So I'm going to start with Teresa. Teresa, what are your tips for us?
Thank you, Simon. Yeah, like most countries, we do have a property squeeze. And one of the things we tell people before they relocate, to put them in the best position they can be in when they're making applications and looking for properties, is just do a bit of preparation in advance. And there is things you can do before you hit the ground in your new country. In preparation for making an application, having all your documentation ready, okay? So you don't want to scramble when you're ready and found a property to start gathering things up. So documents that apply to Ireland apply to most countries, but they may vary a little, so check with whomever you're working with. But copies of ID for all the adult tenants in a property or applying for the property, proof of salary, proof of income. So they want to see you can afford the property. So that's a HR letter or a contract, that type thing. Having a landlord reference is also important when you're applying for a property. It just proves that you've paid rent on time and whatnot before. If you are in a position that your landlord maybe isn't used to giving a reference or whatnot, help them out, give them a template, try encourage them to get you that piece of paper, because it will be an advantage for you when you go to apply for a property. Now, country to country, there are other documents you might need, but in Ireland in particular, you may be asked for three months bank statements. You may be asked for recent pay slips, even if it is a previous job. So again, it's really good to have those gathered up in advance. The other thing then that we sometimes face is that some people come and maybe they're depending on first salary to pay rent or deposit. And we fully understand that can be a difficulty, but what we would say is do your best to gather the deposit and first month's rent before you travel, because the chances are you may need to pay these before you get your first month's salary. Deposit varies country to country. I know in Ireland, a deposit is 1 month's rent, and you will generally be expected to pay the first month's rent in advance also. So 2 months' rent, is good to have in your back pocket when you arrive in country and start your search. So I think they're 2 key pieces that I would leave you with, Simon.
Thanks, Teresa. That's very useful. Esme, how does that correlate with what you've got in the Netherlands?
Yeah, it sounds very familiar, Teresa. Actually, the documentation needs to be in order in the Netherlands as well. We need a copy of the passport page of the adults. We need a work contract countersigned, so both by you and the employer. Sometimes even an employer statement. And also a nice introduction of yourself and or your family. Another thing that's important is be flexible in the Netherlands. Take the viewing slots that are offered. Sometimes it's even a group viewing with 10 or 15 people showing up at the doorstep at the same time. A little bit uncomfortable, but that's how it works. And don't think too long if you like an apartment, or it will be gone. If it's 70% okay, I would say be happy with it. You're not buying it, it's not for life, and you need a place to stay. And remember, if you sleep on it, taking too much time thinking about it, you will not sleep in it, but someone else will, because you don't have a chance anymore. It's a very challenging market, I would say, especially in Amsterdam. You're not only competing with other expats, but also with Dutch people who cannot afford to buy, who both have a career, and even with international students. As an advance payment, it's even worse than in Ireland. In the Netherlands, you have to pay the first month rent ahead of time, but 2 months of rent as a deposit. So you need to have 3 months of rent ready before you actually get the house keys. And no money means no keys. It's very strict in the Netherlands. Relocating with pets is an issue if you're looking for an apartment, less so if you're looking for a house. So that's so good. Remote viewings are difficult. You need to be in the country, and that has to do with the market. There's so many people out there looking for a place to stay that the agent will not go out of his way to try to give you a nice video and give you some time to think about it. Okay, back to Simon. Thank you.
Thanks, Esme. So, Charlotte, that sounds to me like we need to get our ducks in line before we even leave our home country. Is that the best thing to do?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, Simon. We don't advise the people to search the property, start the search before they are in the country, before they arrive in France, because the same as Esme said, there's a lot of competition as well in Paris and in the major French cities. So the best is for you, I mean, for the assignee to be physically be in the country to start the search, to do the visits. And also because, you know, if the consultant does a search on behalf of the assignee will have the full picture of the property, like the area where the flat is located. They may not like it, you know, once they physically go into the flat. So there's a lot of things that they need to take into account. Maybe there's a restaurant on the bottom of the flats, and so they didn't really take that into consideration. Anyway, we can't stop people for looking on the internet for properties that they would want to see once they get into France. So what we ask them is maybe they can send us the link of these properties that they saw on the internet. What our consultants will do is that they will check the link, check first if the property is still available and if the property has all the assignee criteria. And if it ticks all the boxes, we will add them to the viewings for the assignees to view when they are in France. But obviously that cannot be too much in advance, because we start the search maybe a week, maximum a week before the assignee is in the country, because otherwise the property will have already be rented out by someone else.
Thanks, Charlotte. That's interesting.
You're welcome.
So Bev, it sounds to me like I better go online and start finding all these amazing properties on these property sites.
Not in the UK, unfortunately. We do have amazing property websites, and they're really good, but it's good to think about why these are in place. And one of them is, of course, purely marketing, and it's to market the brand of the estate agents more than the viability of the properties that are listed on there. We have such a fast-moving market that if it's online, somebody else is sleeping in it, somebody else's head is on that bed, and it's a case of, so how do I find my property? So don't rely on the internet for finding those properties, because we need to network and we need to try and get in with the estate agents to get those properties that aren't listed yet. Be the first one through the door, then you're the first one to place that offer. And because our property consultants are not commission driven, they have got a really good network of estate agents, and we only deal with professional people, so therefore we work very closely together in supplying the landlord with a professional person, and of course the property agent then finds us the properties that we need. But the websites, they look great and they will give you a really good impression, but remember when the photos were taken. And I think Natalie's got something about that as well, because we have back-to-back bookings, back-to-back rentals here, and so the photo could be 6 years old when it was decorated, and it may not have been decorated since, and landlords do not decorate standardly in between those tenancies, so there will be fair wear and tear that people have to take on board. And as a tenant, you can't paint the property yourself without prior permission.
Thanks, Bev. And Natalie, yes, I think you've got some other bits of information related to those websites as well.
Yes, Simon, that's true. You can't always rely on those photos. So first of all, we all know we have a lot of technology now that can make things look much prettier than it is in reality. And then secondly, a lot of these photos are taken by the real estate agencies when the properties are still occupied by the previous tenants. So things may look fully furnished and equipped, but in reality in Belgium, about 90% or more of the properties are actually unfurnished. So unfurnished in Belgium means that they are completely empty, even no light fixtures, no curtains, but we do have fully furnished and equipped kitchens in both furnished and unfurnished properties. So don't look at the photos only, check the descriptions as well. These are often only in French or Dutch in Belgium, but of course you can ask us to help with those translations, and if there are still questions, we reach out to the real estate agencies for further clarifications.
Okay, thanks very much. Well, I hope that's been useful, and obviously we'd be very happy to help you out with any of your home search needs in our countries. But for the moment, we're going to say goodbye, and we look forward to joining us again when we've got another one of our destination discussions in the future. Thanks very much.